Broadcasting live on the UnitedWest.org AM radio network, simulcasting on DirecTV, iHeartRadio, Roku, and the World Wide Web, this is Enemies of the State with Tom Trento.
All right, got a little homework here, getting some work done on Thursday, the 25th, June 25th, Thursday. Hi, everybody. Tom Trento here. Good to have you with us. Thank you for tuning in, telling your friends about all of our work standing for the United States of America. Even though earlier, SCOTUS, the suck... I got to watch the acronyms here. The suckhead.
It's actually the SCOTUS
Obama
bill.
Here.
Scobama bill.
Could probably use SCOTUS and use all the 7 unlawful FCC words for this Supreme Court, which just said, oh, yeah, sure. Deadbeat people can take the money from hardworking Americans to pay for health care they don't want, they don't need, and they're not going to use. It's okay to do that.
And it doesn't matter what the bill says at all.
Doesn't matter. And when they have their destructive lifestyles and they continue it because now a middle-class, hardworking person is paying for. Everybody thinks the rich people carry the burden, the transition of wealth that President Obama is so proud of. It doesn't affect rich people. All they do is move their money to another fund somewhere and get another 3%, and it covers whatever Obama thinks he can take from them. Middle-class people that make $35,000, $45,000 a year, 2 parents working, that's the ones who are getting hit, and those taxes are going to creep up, I guarantee you, before Obama leaves. And this dumb Republican Congress will probably approve it. But the Supreme Court just approved the fact that... and it's very complex, that these subsidies can be continued, which simply means tax money can pay for health insurance for people that really shouldn't have it. There's no constitutional right to health insurance. There's nothing like that. If a person doesn't want it, why is it forced upon them? Oh, for the social good. We've had all those arguments before. One chance left for the new president to unravel this thing. It's going to be a little more difficult. But hang on, because tomorrow on Friday, guess what's coming out tomorrow?
Tell us, Tom, what's coming out tomorrow? I couldn't possibly imagine.
Oh, it's, what was your name again? I forgot your name.
PJ Francisco.
PJ Francisco.
From the Wilton Manors Gazette.
Yes, you and your homies are going to...
Did you just say me and my homos?
Homies.
No, homies.
Oh, okay.
Homies.
Colloquial
Homies.
friends.
Careful.
Homie.
No.
Homophobe.
Look, if somebody wants to be a homosexual, not that there's anything wrong with it. There's so much wrong with it, but that's another show. But I'll bet that SCOTUS, who even Justice Roberts now is leaning so far to the left it isn't funny, they find somewhere in the Constitution in the equality clauses or whatever, in the penumbra like they did for Roe v. Wade in 1973, their decision actually said somewhere in the penumbra of the Constitution is the right to privacy for a woman. Do you know what penumbra means? We're all looking like, what the heck does penumbra mean?
I'm sorry, what the heck's penumbra?
Penumbra means shadows. Somewhere in the shadows of the Constitution.
Like a moon, like a solar...
There wasn't an articulation of a right to privacy to such extent that if you want, you can kill your unborn child. It wasn't in the Constitution. But because the court was doing social reengineering, cultural conditioning, they wanted unlimited abortion in all 50 states. There was a patch quilt abortion situation in the U.S. back in 71, 72, 73. But they found it in the penumbra. You're going to see the word penumbra coming to gay marriage and marriage of the same sexes. And, we were arguing a long time ago, Christian activist conservatives. If you start allowing things like this, how do you morally argue against NAMBLA? NAMBLA, North American Man-Boy Love Association. And certainly with our friends in Islam, Abdullah, you guys have no problem with men having loving and having sex with young boys, do you?
I don't know about the love part, but the sex is fine, yes.
Sure, yeah. And it's
Please
not
do
just
not confuse the two.
It's not just a tribal conditioning in Islam. It's allowed theologically and in fact proscribed at times, particularly in times of war when the war fighters are away. Did you see Imam Abdullah? I mean, even you may be in agreement with me on this one.
It is anything is possible, Tom.
All right. For our radio listening audience, it's Tom Trento here. I got Imam Abdullah in the audience, in the control room, actually, sitting back there with Mark. It's 11 minutes after 4 o'clock, and I saw the other day, I thought it was from The Onion or from Mad Magazine or one of those joke things. The Islamic State during Ramadan is running a Bible memorization contest.
Yes, this is unbelievable, yes.
The Islamic State, the Islamic death culture animal savages ravaging their way across the Maghreb and the Middle East, they, during the holy month of Ramadan, said, if our people learn to study the Bible better, and their Bible is the Quran, study the Quran better and actually memorize verses, we should reward them. So they had a meeting. They got all their top brass together and said, yes, Abdullah, yes, Al-Meek, yes, Mohammed, what should we do? Well, for the winner, the one who wins the contest for memorizing the most Quranic verses, let's give him, what do you think?
Oh, I don't know, Tom. Maybe sex slaves?
Sex slave. Can we say those words on commercial radio?
Yeah, CNN said it.
Tom, if your president can say the N-word, we can say sex slave, yes.
I got a question about President Obama saying the N-word. Black people can get away with saying the N-word. White people can't.
You damn straight, T. That's how it works.
Malcolm Z, you're here too?
Absolutely, my man.
Did that bother you when Obama used the N-word, Malcolm Z?
Well, Tom, I'm a little bit perplexed on that. You see, it all depends which half of Obama done said the N-word. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it was the black half, yo, I'm cool with that.
Oh, if it was the black half of Obama using the N-word, Malcolm Z,
I got no problem with that.
Okay.
That's his right as a black man to use the N-word.
Okay.
Now, on the other hand,
His white
if
side.
that was the white half of
Oh, I never
Obama,
thought of that.
Yeah.
I'll put a beat down on him. Ain't no white man use the N-word.
Oh, that's a
So
good
that's
question.
where I stand on the president using the N-word in that man's garage.
Malcolm Z, thank you very much
that's
for
a
your
very good
insight.
point. That's a very
Hey,
rational point.
Mark, Malcolm Z raised a good point.
Yeah, he
Which
did.
half of Obama?
I don't
the
know.
white half or the black half used the N-word?
Well, I guess since does half black make him all black?
No, he's half white.
But what's the
I guess he can
qualification?
be whatever he wants to be
What's the
nowadays.
qualification to check your box
yeah.
off on the thing? You have to be.
Oh, the box thing is the colonialism of the Western American British
Well, no.
forces. Come
No.
on, we don't
No,
want to check
this-
boxes. We
this
want
is-
to be whoever we want to be.
No, like
Like Rachel Dolezal.
Yeah.
She got 2 white pants and call herself black. That woman is crazy. That woman is crazy. She ain't no half and half. She 100% crazy.
There's a cracker crazy.
All right. Well, I don't know how we got off on that, but the Islamic State, ladies and gentlemen, yes, the Sunni Islamic State is offering as a prize for memorizing the most amount of Quranic verses. It's right there on your screen. Sex slaves as the grand prize.
Oh,
now,
cool.
Now,
Yeah, great.
Now, Islam has perfected the art of slavery for many, many, many years. In fact, that's where when they conquered northern Africa, got slaves, shipped them back to Asia to serve and help build ships and fight wars and all of that. But they're taking it a little step further, Quranically. They're sticking a little sex stuff in with the slave. So not only, Abdullah, do you get a slave, but you get to kind of
And they are rewarding one
hold
of the
on.
most, what they're using it as a reward for the who can memorize and recite the Quran. So you're doing something that please Allah, and you are being rewarded with something that Muhammad did in his lifetime. Peace be upon him. Yes, this is beautiful.
But hold on just a second. Teen sex slaves. Is that male or female teen sex slaves? Because I have a big question. If it's a female sex slave, isn't that haram to have sex with an unmarried woman, or is that legal?
It is a slave, Mark. You know this very well. That which he possesses with his right hand is his for the taking. So if it is a slave taken, like say a Yazidi or a Christian woman or a Shia, the Islamic State can do it as wish.
So if they have a baby? What happens to the baby? Do they kill it, or what happens if it's a sex slave? But they also can take boy sex slaves too, can they? Can you not?
Why would you take a boy sex slave when you can have the female sex slave?
Well, a lot of them,
the boys are more out of necessity when we are in the mountains or in the deserts for a long time, and there are no females.
Big
we
problem.
resort to little boys. But our preference is to have the girls. Yes.
Well, some people do. I mean, they run large sex.
If you prefer the boys, you are called homosexual. So
No.
please do not mistake us having sex with little boys as homosexual activity.
Okay, it's not sex. Not okay.
Tom,
Having
what
sex
are
with
you
little
doing
boys.
with the book?
I'm looking in your book, just a whole bunch of chapters and verses and everything on slavery. Yeah, Mark, it's very, very simple. When the warfighters are out away from their families, they have needs. They have sexual needs that need to be fulfilled. And Islam has made a carve-out, if you will, that when the warriors capture an area and take the booty, in this case the real booty, as theirs.
Yes, because sometimes the booty is booty.
The booty is booty. They can indeed advance sexually on women or men. I mean, it goes both ways because they are war fighting for Allah in a jihad. That's part of the reward given to them.
Okay.
Like your bird doll.
So you have to have sex just like a Maslowian type of thing, where it's one of those physiological needs.
Yes. Yeah, there's
So
no
you can't
I do
control
not
it.
know of your Maslowians.
Yeah.
And you're right with the haram part, haram being unlawful, folks, at 18 minutes past 4 o'clock. You're right that there are rules limiting how a man can have sex with a woman. He has to marry him, and there's hour marriages and longer marriages.
Well, does she have to be alive at least?
Well, but in wartime, this
I mean,
carve-out...
because Muhammad had sex with dead women. I know that.
yeah, that's been reported. And,
well, it's actually in one of the hadiths, but that's all right.
But in terms of right now, the article that's running right now, the contest that's running right now, yes. And, in our question, when we raised the question, how could a religion of peace, a religion of logic, allow men to take humans captive and then forcibly have sex with them, and you call that something of God? How does that work?
Well,
it is very simple, Tom. If you read the Quran and the Hadith, this is what Allah prescribed to Muhammad, and our job as men of the Muslim is to emulate Muhammad to our best capabilities.
And
so there, it is very simple. You take point A to point B, and we arrive at point C, which is ISIS Quran recital contest offering teen sex slaves as grand prize. Very simple.
What about Malcolm X? What about slaves just in general? Just taking slaves? I mean, forget the sex part, but just slaves. Malcolm, how do you feel about that with Islam taking slaves? Black slaves, typically, and which they call raisin heads, by the way.
Yeah, they do. Little time change on one of the things we're doing.
I don't know no people being slaves today other than for the government of this country.
Did you see...
Malcolm X. Malcolm X, yeah, burning the American flag, too.
Farrakhan.
Yeah, Farrakhan, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Malcolm X is a
I'm
little hard-pressed to burn anything these days
Sorry,
other than
Farrakhan,
himself.
Sorry.
I
confuse them. I interchange them so easily. I'm sorry. I don't know why.
Yeah, I know. Louis Farrakhan came out and said that, what all the damn nonsense about his Confederate flag,
We got to burn the American flag.
We got to beat down the American flag. Yeah, well, he's a Sunni Muslim, and, that's his perspective. So, hey, folks, it's Thursday the 25th. We got all kinds of stuff for you today, 20 minutes after. And we just thought it was almost a Jumpin' Juma Freaky Friday story to have the Islamic State allowing sex slaves when you learn their scriptures, learn the material to get more closely to God, and for our Muslim brothers and sisters. We know you're listening. We know you're watching. We get your cards. We get your letters. We can see. We got ways of seeing who's watching us and who's listening. And we want you to ask yourself, there's Farrakhan right there. He's part of your tribe, guys, you know. He's a Sunni. Yeah. We want you to ask yourself logically, not trapped in this philosophical conundrum of not being allowed to question that which has been imposed upon you. Forget about that for a minute. Step outside objectively. Look at the idea of a religion allowing warriors to enslave innocent human beings and then use them sexually, and that's somehow honoring your God, Allah. Tell me how that works on any level of normality or morality. Tell us about that. All right. Okay.
Hey, Tom, where is this show being broadcast?
Wherever we want it to, Imam Abdullah, wherever we want it to. All over the place.
Is it on 740 WSBR radio?
If we want it to be, it is on WSBR radio, 740 AM on your dial at Boca Raton. If we want it to be on RedStateTalkRadio.com, it's also there. And we also I was thinking the other day we were going to do this. We also wanted to mention our blog team. We have a blog team of very articulate radio jocks. We call them Jihad jocks. And our Jihad jocks are whom, Abdullah? You know about them? You listen to them all the time.
Yes, there is a network I found on accident. It is actually called the Radio Jihad Network. And so I was looking something more in the line of a little more aggressive Al Jazeera. I was looking for something for myself. But it turns out that this Radio Jihad Network is actually for counter-jihadists.
Oh!
It's an Islamophobic website.
Yes, it is like Islamophobes. And I was very upset to find. I was hoping to find more of my jihadi friends. And unfortunately...
Radio Jihad Network, you thought was jihad. You're part of the jihad.
Pro-jihad.
Yes.
Okay.
And it comes out that these are counter-jihadists.
Oh, counter-jihad.
Oh, so they're playing a little, yeah. So for the jihadis that want to find jihad stuff, it's kind of cool.
Pretty cool, yeah.
Yeah.
It is crazy.
Well, tell us who the lineup is that we may know so people can also listen after they listen to our show every day at 4 o'clock East Coast time.
Oh, let us see. On the Mondays, you have Mamma Mia, no Shariah.
Mamma Mia, no Shariah. With whom?
You have, I believe, one of your friends, Alan, is the co-host with Vito Esposito.
Yes. Alan and Vito, yes.
I am still looking for more. On
you guys
Tuesdays,
can say...
Tuesdays you have Kelly, this lady Kelly, and Infidels Are Watching. Say, that is another one. Infidels Are Watching. I thought that would be more jihad. On the Wednesdays, you have another one of your friends, Miss Eliza Jane, that you'll be seeing tonight, I believe.
Yes.
Thursdays, I believe, are the Gadi Edelman.
Oh, good man, Gadi.
Yes. Good, yeah.
And I'm still looking for more because
how do they find them on the URL?
You go to blogtalkradio.com. Blogtalkradio.com, and in your little search box you go Radio Jihad Network, and it pop up. You click and you listen every day. I believe also your producer have show, your little Jew in the studio here. He have show on Sundays at 7.
Damon does. Damon.
Yes.
Where is he?
Over here. You got a crowded studio today. What's up, man?
Are you a jihad jock?
I am Sunday nights from 7 to 8 o'clock.
Yo.
Damon Rosen's Insane Sunday is the name of the show.
Sunday. Radio Jihad and good stuff. All right.
Also, your Egyptian Coptic friend, Osama Dagduk, have shown on this network.
Osama Dagduk?
Yes,
he's good.
Osama's a good man.
And Dr. Mark Christian as well. You're chock full of kuffars.
We got to get both of those guys on the show. We got, so many.
Next full week, of kuffars.
We got something for everybody next week, 25 minutes after. Next week, we are going to have a very unique week. Last night, we were at a fundraiser for the United West, graciously by one of our friends, put it on at his beautiful home, he and his wife. And must have been, we thought there were going to be 20 people, must have been 50 people or so. We did a...
You did not invite me?
We did this wasn't for you. We did a 30-minute briefing in 2 hours. And it's actually
a 2-hour briefing in 30 minutes.
Yeah, it was actually a 5-hour briefing in 30 minutes. But what we decided to do, because we had put so much time into this information, this material, and the title of it is Israel at War. It's predicting that Israel goes to war before 2015 is over, and it's a war like no other war. And those are the words out of the Washington Institute, a think tank in D.C. with some pretty heady guys behind it. And we detailed our experiences, our trips over there, our analysis with some of this information. And we lay out how this war is going to start and how it's going to affect every American. So next week, we're going to take 5 parts, Israel at war. We're following the Iran decision, which will be on the 30th, but we all believe that that's going to be pushed back a week or two.
Filthy Shia.
So we're going to look at Iran at war. And we had some folks that did little short testimonials for us, names you may or may not recognize. We're going to feature them each day. And then we're going to show you some archival footage. We've been at this a long time. We're going to go back and pull out our 8mm cameras and 8mm film and show you some of the early days. And we're doing this whole week to provide very important information, but also it's going to be a fundraising week for the United West, just like NPR and Jerry Lewis's telethon and all of that sort of stuff.
Hey, Tom, anyway, you can get me in for the week. I'm out of
Jerry,
practice.
you're here in
I'd
the
love
studio.
to help you out if you'd let me, T.
Maybe we can get Jerry back next week to
Oh, I'd love to help you out anytime.
host part of the show. But things went very well last night. We raised a little bit of money, and we are relatively minor budgeting, operational budgets around here, believe me, minuscule compared to some of the names you know. And but we do need money to keep all this circus, these tents up while the circus can play. And we're going to ask you next week to become partners with us, to make a monthly contribution so it doesn't hurt your budget. Almost everyone who listens to us can afford at least $18 or $25 a month recurring. You can do that. You can shift a few things around if you perceive we have value.
And if you can add a 0, we'd appreciate it.
A couple of zeros. And if we can't raise the support, then what we're doing is not commercially viable. The value isn't seen, and then we got to make some changes. That's all. No big deal. But we do need to raise the money, and none of us are living extravagant lifestyles. I could assure you of that. Damon, we had 2 vehicles that had between them 500,000 miles on them. One gave up the ghost, and then a friend of ours graciously is letting our producer use the car. We have one other vehicle that's about to give up the ghost, and then we're thumbing it to work, basically.
Right.
But we're not big fundraisers. We're very good fighters. But next week we're gonna ask you to help out, and we're gonna justify that. We don't have to justify it. Go to youtube.com/The United West and look at about 1,000 hours of material with millions of hits that we have done that nobody in the world is doing what we can do. Nobody has the confrontational expertise that we do, the intellectual analysis combined with the confrontation. A lot of very smart people, but they don't hit the streets. And not only that, you have to sometimes do this in a covert manner. Rarely do you find intelligent people that know the material, that are willing to confront, but also be covert, and then add a couple of other skill sets to that, like putting this all on a show like this. And we stand heads above anybody out there, and even large organizations, but we're very quiet about how great we are. But we're going to talk about some of our greatness next week so you can participate in that and own a piece of us. And we're going to give you one of these things, okay? We'll give you one of
Those
these
things are in demand, man. Don't
No, don't be giving them things out there generously.
You know what? That's a great idea. As we ought to get those, that might be the most effective way.
For $25 a month, you get one of these guys, and you can do this. Whenever I hold it up, you hold it up out there, ladies and gentlemen, and shake his head like this.
We might have to give one of those to Mr. B, who made a nice donation. Thank you, Mr. B. We appreciate it.
Yeah, Mr. B gave a nice little donation, and that helps us out for a couple of weeks, actually. So that's good. All right, 30 minutes after the hour, we have Frank Gaffney coming up for you. Frank Gaffney is the head of Center for Security Policy. He was on Fox News with Neil Cavuto yesterday. And the issue, obviously, in D.C., issue all over the world right now for serious people, is the negotiations ending 5 days from today. 501 days from today is the election, November 8th. We're all counting that down. But 5 days from today, a decision will be, a set of negotiations lasting 13 years will be concluded, and there's going to be a deal. We're betting that it's going to be a bad deal. Frank Gaffney said this yesterday on Fox about the deal.
Well, if those Iranian lawmakers are shouting death to America, by the way, this goes all the way up to the Ayatollah, former defense official Frank Gaffney says we should just kill the deal right now. That's why I found it interesting, Frank, and you and I were listening to that this isn't just some hardliners saying this. These are the big cheeses, the top cheeses in government. So these aren't some aberrant nuts. These are the Ayatollahs.
Well, they are aberrant nuts, of course, but they are also running the regime that we are dealing with.
So what do we do?
Good job,
Well, what
Frank.
you're hearing, I think, is none of this really matters, that somehow what we're getting out of these negotiations is what's all important. And the truth of the matter is, it does matter. What we're seeing, going back to April, was a bad deal. Bibi Netanyahu anticipated it correctly and said it's paving the way for Iran to get the bomb. What we've seen in the months since then, Neil, is essentially creating a super highway for the Iranians to get the bomb. And I'm afraid that it's getting so much worse in so many different ways. The areas that we have reason to believe covert nuclear weapons activities are taking place, that's off the table. We have been made clear that we're not going to get any controls on their ballistic missile program.
So why do we
We've
do
been
it? Why do I
suppressing
get
the
a
information
sense,
about
Frank, that
terrorism.
we want this more than they do?
We, in the form of the President of the United States, want this so much more than they do, that he's willing to give them essentially everything. And this is why I think, you got to think about the Obama doctrine. I've got it down to 9 words. Embolden our enemies, undermine our friends, and diminish our country. All of those are on display in
But
this
is there
deal.
some magic insight we're missing? I always try to get the benefit of the doubt here and say, all right, well, they know every aspect of this deal or the broad framework of it. But then again, I think so do the mullahs and the Ayatollah and all these guys are saying death to America, death to Israel, all that 9 yards. We're not going to let you inspect this stuff. Then I start thinking to myself, well, then maybe this isn't what it's cracked up to be, because the very folks we hope to honor it and trust that they will verify it are not.
There is no basis for trusting the Iranians. That's just a given here. The president, I think, has calculated that we can live with them having a nuclear weapon, despite having said endlessly that we won't let them do it. And he's now creating an arrangement under which they will get it. The question is, how soon? My guess is it will be sooner than we can believe, and for all these reasons, the status quo today, where what's left of the sanction regime is still there. We're not giving them $50 billion in a signing bonus. We're not.
Well, they say that's
legitimating
their
this
money.
program.
That's
well,
their
it may be
stuff.
their money, but
But
when
you say it's a big
when
mistake.
It's
So- but you think it's
to
still gonna
terrorism
happen?
and
You think it's
missiles
still
and
gonna
nuclear-
happen?
I think it is going to be rejected by the Congress, because I think this has gotten to be so bad a deal that even they, having set the bar low, will not be able to accept it. And I think that's exactly what we should be doing. But frankly, we should be stopping the negotiations now before it gets to that point, and we have to have the president repudiate it.
Because they're trying to buy time, from your view, right?
The Iranians are buying time, for sure.
Thank you, my friend. Very good seeing you in the
Glad
flesh.
to see you.
All right, Frank Gaffney, folks, at 35 minutes after the hour. I mean, that was as clear and as concise,
Exactly it.
succinct, and logical as could be. And when Neil Cavuto throws the throwaway line, well, they're not crazy nuts. Frank goes, yeah, they are. They're crazy nuts, the Ayatollahs. Tomorrow's show, we have Tim Furnish on board, who's an expert on the Mahdi, on Iranian thinking. And he will argue that the Ayatollahs are not nuts. They're actually very level-headed people, and they don't want to incinerate themselves. They're using that mystique, that eschatological mystique, to leverage the West even more. So that's tomorrow's show.
Well, I could say, as a Sunni, I would like to say he is right in one way. The Ayatollahs do not want to see themselves burn up, but they have no problem with 90% of their own population blowing up if it brings about the return of the 12th Imam.
All right, you could argue
I
with...
still think it's all about oil and them collecting that last third down there. I think it's about power, and I do think they want to wield that big stick as a big power stroke to take over that last third of the oil field of Saudi Arabia.
Well, we have all week. It's Apocalyptic Iran week. Monday was Dr. Matthew Koenig, Georgetown, saying it's going to be a bad deal. Tuesday, Dr. Peter Pry, expert on electromagnetic pulse bombs, and he said, look, this stuff is for real. Iran has the capability. We can't allow this to happen. They can put a little ship off our coast in a couple of eastern cities, and it's lights out, figuratively and literally, for Americans. Then yesterday was Hump Week. We looked at several, in the middle of the week, Hump Day. We looked at several elements, and we've been playing the Clarion movies. We're going to play one in a moment here. Clarion Project, our friends, have done about a 7-part series on the Iran issue, and we're featuring some of their films in our work, short little videos. Yesterday we argued that minimally, and we're going to bring this back today, minimally there's 9 requirements in order to make this not a bad deal. Not necessarily a great deal even with these requirements, but certainly not a bad deal. And we'll go through those. And I was going to follow Frank with the survey that Center for Security Policy did, but this great new computer of mine is doing this spinning thing when it's trying to bring up a website. And we're live right now, so can one of you pull up Center for Security Policy, pull up the survey, and we can spend a couple of minutes on that because it is
I
frightening.
love this survey. It is fantastic.
Oh, come on, Abdullah. Even you got to realize that, this stuff is crazy here.
Crazy
It's
good.
not crazy. The only thing crazy is that there are not more Muslims calling for Sharia law here in America. That is what is amazing.
Oh, you want even more?
Of course.
Okay, you know what? It's got to be it's pulling up all the other websites. It's not pulling up Center
I
for
have the
Security
PDF right here. I love it.
Policy. Okay. All right, well, here's what we have. The Center for Security Policy, Frank Gaffney, who just spoke, for those of you in the car 38 minutes after, on WSBR Radio, redstatetalkradio.com. For those of you in your automobile, you just heard Frank Gaffney on Fox News. Now his organization, Center for Security Policy, based in D.C. Frank used to work for President Reagan in the Defense Department. And their organization conducted they actually hired a polling firm to conduct a nationwide survey
Yes,
of
Tom,
Muslims.
Mark's good friend.
What's that?
Oh, nothing.
Well, what happened? I was busy typing.
Your good friend
At the polling company.
agency.
Oh,
Mark has a good friend who works with this
She
polling
loves me.
agency,
She
so
loves
he
me.
knows all about it. But in any event, the polling agency conducted a poll, and this is not some goofy, right-wing crazy poll. It's a legitimate national polling company.
It's not the Frank Lutz company, is it?
Works on both sides of the aisle and does professional work, and all this stuff is peer-reviewed. It's so easy to look at a poll and go, oh, that's a push poll, that's a crazy poll. These are legitimate polls, and the findings are frightening for all Islamophobes in America. And if you're not an Islamophobe, if you don't fear Islam, you will after we give you some of this information. Let's start with some of the information.
Okay, it's from the Polling Company, Inc. First page is just very basic. This was 600 Muslim Americans. 100% of them are Muslim, 55% male, 45% female. And this just basically confirms that that is the case. Page 2, this is an 8-page report. How do you characterize Sharia? 47%, a guide to the personal practice of Islam. So number 1. 25%, a comprehensive program governing all aspects of the faithful Muslim's life.
So one quarter.
One quarter of American Muslims polled. A comprehensive program governing all aspects of the faithful Muslim's life.
That's how they define Sharia?
Yeah.
Yes, 25%, 11%.
This is really key.
Now, hang on. When you hear these percentages, folks, the survey was, I think, 600 Muslims, right? Yeah, 600
Yes, 600 Muslims.
Oh, that's FYI, most surveys just let you know to have a high accuracy rate of like 99% statistic-wise, have to be in that 100 to 120 range to get statistically accurate numbers. 600 is amazingly broad for a study
people
like this.
people would normally think, well, 600. How can you extrapolate 3 million from 600?
Most polling
This is the
companies
way
don't.
the world works.
That's how all polls, yeah.
Yeah, these are sample polls, and this is a science. This isn't fairy dust, science fiction. This is scientific, and the numbers are very close. So when you hear 25%, it's not 25% of 600. It's 25% of 3 million, which is
6
what?
million.
Of what? Yes, 6
Well, he's made up
That's
6
even
million
worse.
number.
All right, go ahead. Keep going.
With respect to Sharia, do you believe that?
No. Go back to characterize Sharia law. How do you characterize Sharia?
Oh, okay,
11%.
11%.
Yeah.
Okay, now in addition to that 25%, another 11%, the Muslim God Allah's law that Muslims must follow and impose worldwide via jihad. The Muslim God Allah's law that Muslims must follow and impose worldwide via jihad. So 25% think it governs everything. Then you have another 11% that are even more radical.
Yeah.
So you have over one third.
More devout.
Yes, more
That's not radical.
Yeah, more devout.
More devout. So that's out of 2 million people, that's
3 million.
3 million people.
6
that's
million.
That's 300,000 people that think it must be imposed by worldwide jihad.
No, 300,000. Oh, yeah. The
Plus
11%.
25%.
Well,
25%'s
150,000.
I'm
sorry. Out of 3 million would be 750,000
750.
plus another so over a million.
yeah, over
So
a million
far,
people.
over a million.
Over a million
people.
living in the United States.
That's a third.
All right, next question. With respect to Sharia, do you believe that A, it is up to the individual Muslim to define Sharia?
45%.
45% said that. Now,
right.
this is my problem, okay? This is why the poll is very disappointing. For 45% of the people to say that they can define Sharia, heretic and
There's
blasphemous.
hope. Imam, there's hope for them if they define the. Well, maybe not. Maybe they want to define the Sharia more devoutly than even the Quran is defining.
It is-
These are people I call Muslims in name only, my nose.
It is very disappointing that anyone can think it is Allah's word transmitted through Muhammad, peace be upon him, and it is not any Muslim's right
That's a
to
little bit
interpret Sharia.
encouraging.
This goes back to your critical thinking from a few weeks ago. All right. With respect to Sharia and choice B, there is only one true Sharia as interpreted by Islamic authorities, and no faithful Muslim can depart from it.
And that's that book, Tom, you have right there, Reliance of the Traveler, which was codified, certified, and stamped by the Islamic Institute of the Fiqh Council of North America, by people we've run into who said this is the absolute law, must be taught to Americans, must be taught to everyone. That is the book.
This is the book,
That's
yeah.
the
Okay,
book they're talking
26% believe that. 26%.
What question are you on? What question are you on?
With respect
Number
to Sharia,
7.
number 7.
Okay, I finally
Do
got
you
it.
believe that there is only one true Sharia as interpreted by Islamic authorities and no faithful Muslim can depart from it? 26% believe that. Now, another 13% Muslims who do not follow Sharia are not faithful Muslims. This is
13%
correct.
said that.
This is correct. I am in that 13% for sure.
That's a low figure.
So, question number 8. If Sharia conflicts with the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights, which law should be considered supreme?
This is
43%
This is scary.
said U.S.
Wow.
Constitution and the Bill of Rights are supreme. Again, this is another very disappointing. It should be 100%. I believe that Sharia is supreme to U.S. Constitution. But only 33% believe that the Sharia law or Sharia Islamia is supreme to the U.S. Constitution. So a full 1/3 of Muslims living in America believe that Sharia law is supreme to the U.S. Constitution and Bill of Rights.
Once
Now,
again,
if
the
there's
Israelites.
3 million, which,
6 million.
What?
6 million. You keep saying 6.
Oh,
3.
If there's 3 million,
That's 1 million.
that means a million. But obviously, you take out the non-adults, and it's 1/3 of all Muslim adults believe that Sharia supersedes the Constitution.
That book right there that you get there. Once
That
again.
is destructive to a culture, to a country, to a society when you have that percentage of a demographic. Now, thank God or Allah, the Muslim, this is where you see these numbers. When Islam is 5%, here's what happens, 7%, 9%, 10%, 20% of the population. They're 0.1% or something, very small number right now. But that is very, very bad.
Well,
Okay,
and then on top of that, 17% said they don't know, and 8% did not answer. I would go so far as to say at least half of that 17% didn't want to answer it, that Sharia law is supreme to the Constitution. And the 8% that said no answer, I bet you 100% of that 8% believe Sharia law is supreme.
it's closer to 50%.
So, right, that's what I'm saying is you're probably closer to half. Not
That is, look, at 47 minutes, Tom Trento, your host, Enemies of the State, we're going through a recently conducted survey of Muslim attitudes in the United States of America, and we are discovering frightening information. At least 1/3 to half of Muslim adults in the United States believe that their Quran supersedes the Constitution of the United States of America when it comes to dealing with law. This is
all law.
all
law.
This is Islamophobic, folks. You need to be afraid of this. This is very bad. Go ahead, keep going.
Question number
9.
9. Should Muslims in the U.S. have their own courts or tribunals in America to apply Sharia law, or should they be subject to American laws and courts? Very simple. 39% said American courts only. 36% said free to choose either. 15% said Sharia courts only. So
That's scary.
That's
you have-
51%. Yes.
So you're
Sharia.
at 51% there. With the free to choose means that's yes.
That's yes.
Yeah, that's yes. You're
Yeah.
saying Sharia is at least on par
Yeah.
with the U.S.
over
Constitution.
half.
And then 15% say Sharia only. So listen, just take the 15%. You have 15% of the Muslim population thinks the U.S. law does not apply to them.
And you got to throw
And
three,
yet, and half of them basically think it's their option to pick Sharia.
and you have to throw that other no answer in there, like I don't want to say anything, type of thing, because they.
Yeah, you have
That's
to-
another
Of
3%.
course. So now we're talking about 10% of 3 million, 300,000, another 5%, 450,000 Muslims, Sharia only in the United States. Keep going.
Question 10. You'll now read a series of statements. For each, please select whether you...
Strongly agree, somewhat agree. You know, all the agrees.
strongly agree, somewhat agree,
Right.
somewhat disagree, strongly disagree, do not know or care. Okay.
And they rotate it says on the document,
Yeah, sure.
so that they keep this objectivity.
Muslims in America should have the choice of being governed according to Sharia. 51% either agree or strongly agree. Or strongly agree or somewhat agree. 51%.
Yeah.
They should have the
agree-
choice. So if they could choose between the United States Constitution and the Sharia, 51% of the 3 million Muslims would say, no, I want to live under Sharia.
Well, that
Yeah.
goes along with question 9. And it almost numbers almost
Yep,
match up
yep,
exactly.
yep.
Okay, yeah. And only 32% are disagree, either somewhat or strongly. So more... it trumps it. Okay, it's 51 to 32. And then the other, there's a big do not know, cannot judge of 17%. Again, more than half of that is going to be on the pro-Sharia side. So you're looking at over half of U.S. Muslims think that they should have the choice to be ruled by Sharia law.
Crazy stuff, man.
Question 11. Sharia is interpreted by Islamic authorities as compatible with the U.S. Constitution, including freedom of speech and other rights.
Oh,
This
my.
is another agree-disagree.
Okay.
Okay? Strongly, somewhat. on the agree-disagree. Again, Sharia, as interpreted by Islamic authorities, is compatible with the U.S. Constitution. A total of 60%.
Including freedom of speech and other rights where we got attacked by guys with AKs.
Yeah.
Right.
What's the answer?
60% believe it to be compatible.
That Sharia is compatible with the Constitution regarding free speech.
Yes.
That is completely, I mean,
And-
right in that law book that they were talking about, that they said this is what we should be, Sharia law, that book, to Tom's right there, completely contradicts that.
Unless they're saying that freedom to speak is freedom to speak as the Islamic authorities allow you to speak.
Yes.
That's
Well,
freedom to speak, not freedom to speak as we speak.
That's
in
called
America.
blasphemy laws, Tom. It's whenever you talk about Sharia law or Sharia, which is Sharia law, whenever you talk about Sharia, you're talking about blasphemy laws. That means you cannot speak without blaspheming a Muslim or Islam. If you criticize a Muslim, if you criticize Islam, what we're doing right now is blasphemous to Muslims.
Let's pick it up a little bit here. Here's a nice question, number 12. I believe that violence against those that insult the Prophet Muhammad, the Quran, or Islamic faith is sometimes acceptable. So, again, this is agree, disagree, strongly and somewhat. The total in agree is 29%. 29% of U.S. Muslims think that you could use violence against those that insult Islam or Muhammad. Here in America, 29%. And another 10% say they don't know or cannot judge. Just assume that those 10% believe it and didn't want to say it.
And another 14 or somewhat agree with it. You know.
13. Violence against Americans here in the U.S. can be justified as part of...
Wait, I'm still trying to understand 12. I believe that violence against those that insult the Prophet Muhammad, the Quran, or is the Islamic faith. This is going way beyond cartoons.
Right.
This is us right here.
Right.
Right? I believe that violence against those is sometimes acceptable.
Yeah.
So...
And 29% said yeah.
Yep.
And another 10% said they don't know or
Now, is there
cannot
any way
judge.
to arrest all these people and deport them immediately? This is crazy thinking.
I know.
All right, go ahead.
13. Violence against Americans here in the United States can be justified as part of the global jihad. Only 25% agree with that. And another 11% said they don't know or cannot judge. Assume, the way I view it, assume that they believe that there can be. But minimum, 25% agree that for the global jihad, that you can commit violence against Americans here in the United States. A full 1/4
of Muslims.
And actually more in all likelihood.
Now, we're not talking about jihadi Muslims. We're not talking about radical extremists. We're talking about just a survey of Muslims. These are higher numbers than I thought. I actually put the numbers much lower. I've not have thought they would have been this high. You know, I've been saying that 80% Muslims are really, I'm going to have to lower that number down looking at the
This
survey.
is 13, right? Violence against Americans can be justified as part of 25% agree, 11% don't know. That's 30%. So 30% of 3 million is what?
900,000.
So you cut off a third for
600,000 left.
600 and cut that in half. You got 300,000.
300,000 ready to.
So no matter how many times you trim it for whatever, for any
whatever
caveat you want.
You're at a minimum 300,000 people willing to commit violence against Americans here as part of the global jihad.
That's only 6,000, not per capita. This is just by numbers. 6,000 per state.
Well, this is a big state, so we probably have like
Well,
18,000.
not per capita. Just the 50 states.
Yeah.
Just disseminating everybody. You got 6,000 people in the state of Florida, and we're a large state. Imagine 6,000 jihadis in Wyoming or South Dakota with 900,000
No, let's do it by
people.
population. Your average state has about 6 million people in it. So, and we're triple that. So we have about 18 by, doing rough math, we're at 18,000 people here willing to do violence against Americans on behalf of the global jihad. Here in Florida, 18,000 based on these numbers.
18,000? That fills up a nice little football stadium when you think about
Oh,
it.
little. Yeah, FAU maybe.
Yeah.
Not the Gators.
No, Philip, about,
That's
quarter of
bad
the
news,
games.
man.
right,
I hope you're following this, folks. We're going through a very sophisticated survey that was just completed 2 days ago, and these are simply the honest answers of Muslims who
These
were
are
polled.
Muslims answering
100%
this
of the
question.
people said they were Muslims, and the scary part is this isn't new data to us. We've seen data from all over the world, and the only new part, Pew did a big poll in 2011, I believe it was, and indicated a lot of this. The only new information since 2011, 2015 is the increase in the acceptance of violence to suppress Islamophobia or counter jihad. But if you look globally and look at the advance and the increase of the Islamic State, which is on the leading edge of inflaming the sensibilities of jihadis to be even more jihad-oriented, it makes sense that spillover comes to the United States and the attitudes are increasing.
Tom, you know when we did a series called "What 1 Billion Muslims Truly Think," and we took the Pew Research data information, made those charts, and made a video out of it. We got to do that with this.
We got to do it with this. Yep.
Again, this is very disappointing to find such low numbers in
Well,
favor
Abdullah,
of
read jihad as we're running out of time here. Read jihad.
You want to skip right to 15?
No, 14. What's 14?
Which of the following comes closest to your understanding of the term jihad? Choice A, Muslims' peaceful personal struggle to be more religious.
So half.
51%. So half believe it's just the care, get your kids to school on time, lose 5 pounds.
The care propaganda.
The care campaign. Half believe that. 16% mean violent holy war against unbelievers of Islam.
Violent holy war.
16%. 11%, and this is, again, where, some of these brotherhood groups come in, nonviolent actions by Muslims to undermine non-Muslim states and peoples.
So good
It's
quarter.
exactly what CARE does,
Yeah.
and the likes of You're at 27% there between violent and nonviolent subversive.
This next number makes me laugh.
18% don't know or cannot judge.
That's
Yeah,
just such a lie.
18%.
Do
What
not-
they mean is 18%
Don't
were
want-
too afraid to admit that they believe in the violent jihad.
Yeah.
4% outright refused. That 4% gets tacked on. So you're looking at 27 and 4 is 31% believe in either violent or nonviolent by subversive means.
1 million people.
And then take another 9% only 9% out of the 18%.
Yeah, what
so you're
Muslim does-
40% plus.
Yeah, what Muslim does not know what the word jihad means?
I don't know. It's only one of the pillars. It's only one of the 5 pillars. I don't know.
Well,
Go
let's. We got a minute left. Let's conclude this page.
We actually have a few minutes left.
All right. 15. Do you believe that jihad is an obligation of your practice of Islam? 41% yes, 41% no, 13% don't know, 6% no answer. So that's, in real numbers, that's more than half believe that they are obligated to perform jihad.
Do jihad.
Now, that's one of the 5 pillars. It should be 100%. Your American Muslims are stupid. Do you think that there are violent jihadis in the U.S.? 54% said yes, 15% said no, 28% said they don't know. How? These people are liars. Liars.
Right.
17. Do you think the use of violence in the United States is justified in order to make Sharia the law of the land in this country? This is the most frightening one yet. Again, do you think the use of violence in the U.S. is justified in order to make Sharia the law of the land in this country? 19% said yes. 11% said they don't know. 4% refused to answer. The 4% goes with the 19. You're at 23. The don't know take half. 28% would like to see Sharia replace the Constitution.
That's 800,000 people. That's really crazy.
Last one on jihad. Do you believe that it is legitimate to use violence to punish those who give offense to Islam by, for example, portraying the Prophet Muhammad? 24% yes. 11% don't know. 5% no answer. So about 40% believe in using violence to punish those that give offense to Islam. We are screwed.
Yep. We
And-
being America, not us. We deal with this every day. We being the United States of America, according to the poll. We've only gone through half of it. Let's do the other half tomorrow, Jumpin' Juma, Freaky Friday. Hey, folks, we're Islamophobes, okay? We fear this stuff for our republic, for our children, for our future. We don't fear Islam. We fear the implication of Islam, the insinuation of Islam in America. I want to wake you up to stand against it. One of the things we do here at the United West, Enemies of the State. We'll see you tomorrow. Jumping Juma, Freaky Friday.